Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording will be made of this meeting. If anyone else intends to record, they must let the chairman know so. No. First up is the minutes. I think Melville's book was short, script was short. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes with one amendment. On the first page, where we're in the Beaver Dam Road section continued. First sentence says the board read town council's response to the board requirement question. I would like the minutes to include the text of the town council's response. We have so many other long quotes that it seems like a one sentence reply from the town council is probably not too much to add.
I'll second it as amended.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, going around the room. Conrad?
Aye.
Peg?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Next up, go through correspondence. Kind of interested to see that Lennox has a 4-foot front requirement on a fence. I don't think we have that. Do we? I think ours is all 6.
Ours is 6.
Lennox always dares to be different.
And then just so you all know, the Tyringham did come certified mail.
Okay. We're gonna have building a dock on. All right, any discussion on correspondence? Moving on, public comment. What's up, Kathy?
I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on what the Lee Youth Commission's up to for March and April. Comics and Zines class begins March 3rd at the Lee Library from 4:15 to 5:30 p.m. Registration is required, and you can go online for lee.ma.us/youth-commission. The second Saturday Foursquare event is being planned for March 8th. The location and time will be announced soon. The Ninja Gym Conquer the Course event has been rescheduled for Saturday, March 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Crossway Tower Gym. Our pool party will be held on Tuesday, April 22nd at the Berkshire South Regional Community Center from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Details for registration will be forthcoming. The Ninja Fundraiser Fit Playground Dinner has been rescheduled for Saturday, April 26th at the Greenwich Country Club from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Tickets are $65 per person. Reservations can be made at givebutter.com/ninjafitdinner. And that's it.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Moving on, CPA update.
Yeah, last. Okay, well,
Yep.
Yeah.
You tell
Mr.
you.
Chair. Yeah. Last 2 weeks ago, we had our meeting, and this was in our packet, but there were so many things at that meeting, and no one was on the agenda for the CPA. So now we have this update date that it was sent to me, and there you go. And that's where they are now, I guess. these things will go at town meeting, not now, but. So. So if anybody has any questions. A lot of them were on last year too, so.
Could you discuss the first one, Peg? Can you tell me what that's about?
The first one is the Lee Housing. Restoration, is that where you were, Lee Commission?
Sam Yee Keeling Construct? Is that what we, that's the first one. I
Supporting
have.
housing, yeah, they didn't have, there was no application at that point.
Oh, so these are not approved, the first
The
two?
first two, right, but the others were, they voted yes. I
Oh,
guess.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were recommended.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. And there's still time. I mean, it's only February, so.
And how does, Peg, how does it shows a $273,000 amount approved or recommended for expenditure, is that right, at the bottom?
Yes,
And
Yeah.
how does that compare with our annual revenues for that fund?
well, you have to keep so much money every year, so it's higher than 273.
What, I mean,
I don't know the total amount
Okay.
yet.
you know
It
whether
doesn't-
we're going into red or whether, I mean, are we spending
Well,
more than we
the
get
last-
every year or
No,
less?
no, you can't, you're not allowed to.
Well, I thought we
mean-
were stashing money away for
Well, we are,
future,
we are,
so you can spend that in the future, right? So you
Yes.
have 1 year with no expenditure and then another year with, you then now have 2 years of revenue. You could spend 2 years of revenue all at once, couldn't you?
you're supposed to leave so much in, I believe, every
That
single
only happened
year.
the first year because we didn't spend any money the
Right.
first year.
Right.
Also, the state gives you a certain percentage too,
Right,
toward that money.
right,
You're supposed to divvy up the money like 10% for each
Right,
of the 4 groups.
right.
yeah. At
And
least,
then you
right.
can ask, you can ask for more.
Yeah.
But you can't spend more than what's
What they
available.
say, yeah,
Okay, so what I'm asking, maybe I'm just not clear about what I'm asking. $273, if the town approves this, is what we will spend
Yes,
from the fund.
yes.
And I know the fund won't go below zero, but the
Right,
question I have is $273,000 more or less than our 1 year current revenue? Does anybody know the answer to that?
I don't know. I would assume that
The
it's
I
not.
balance in
think
the
it's
fund?
probably less, this is, it's usually they say 38%. Because so many more people are coming into this because they feel it's a valuable thing for all towns. So at first, we were gonna have 50%,
What is 50% of what?
50% of the total amount. And then, now it's done, last thing I read was 38%.
So-
Because so many more towns are coming into it.
Right, something is 38% of something else.
Right,
And I don't
that's
know what any
correct.
one of those things is.
They used to do,
Well-
they do matching funds. They do-
Yes,
They do 50%
yes.
matching funds, it's now down to 38%.
Yes,
So
that's
I
correct.
guess what I'm really after is,
The
what
balance,
position does this leave us in if this gets approved? Do we know how much money is gonna be left in the fund?
Sure,
to
they'll
carry
find out.
forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll find
Yeah.
out by the end of the year, definitely. Yes,
Okay,
Yeah, recommendations couldn't be made unless we knew what the balance
Right.
was gonna
but
be.
Yeah.
nobody here tonight knows.
We're also wondering how much money is derived at the tax collector's office for CPA funds.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Well, you
that's a
would
little
know
more
that, maybe.
detailed, Conrad.
I haven't got it here.
Okay.
That's a little more detailed than what I want to
Yeah.
know. I'm wondering whether this was an effort to say that approximately just wipe out 2 years worth of income and bring it down close to zero, or whether it's,
no,
on the other hand, it's
No.
something very close to 1 year's revenue, and we will be carrying forward the first year's amount for another year,
but
or something in between.
I think it's 38% though. of
But that's
the-
not-
All the revenue, your money is on, the amount of money that is on your tax bill. Or if there's a little blurb there that tells you how much money is there, and they would not allocate the total amount. They don't want them to do that. They feel that's very
Right,
dangerous,
we know that.
very
We're-
dangerous.
Peter, and I'm curious what, how much you're carrying over on this,
Okay,
okay?
well, we can
I
find
think
that
that's
out.
the big
How
one.
much,
Gordon's hand raised.
pardon me?
I don't know if Gordon has his hand raised.
I did.
Oh,
What do you-
Mr. Chairman, just for, I just looked up the 2023 town report and they said their estimated revenue for the CPA between state and local was 163,000. But I can't find the number for fiscal 2024 yet, but know that in 2023, it was 163 that went into the fund. And you were asking, that's the closest I could find. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
thanks,
So you double that, we're at 320, and then
Right.
they carried over 60,000.
right.
Okay, thank you. That's a good estimate. Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon.
So
Oh.
that's it.
All set
For
then?
now,
For
for now, yeah.
All right. Next up, zoning, discussion zoning edits. Let's go right into our draft number 4, I think we have. Gordon, you have a copy of this, correct? Please tell me you do.
I can send it.
I don't have one printed out, no. But
I
that's all
can
right.
send you
Oh,
now,
sure.
Gordon, if you like.
That'd be great, thank you.
I'll forward it to you right now, Gordon.
Thank you.
So the last time we talked about this, we made some edits to draft 3. This is now draft 4.
I just want to pause a minute here and talk about our timing on this. So it looks like the 8th, the select board is going to post the warrant. So all of our language that we have will be posted, and our public hearing is going to be after they post it.
I was able to publish in the paper for the 12th of public hearing, if that works for everybody. It's a Wednesday. That was the
Okay.
earliest we could do it. That would still fall in the confines, and we have the space in the courtroom.
Okay, so we have that, and I believe our amendments at that point will be can only be minimal. Is what we're looking at. So what we come out with tonight is kind of gonna have to be our finished product. I think we have a pretty good finished product. Nice chart on the first page. Everybody loves charts. It makes life very easy.
So
So-
are we saying that we're going to have a public hearing on the 12th? Is that what we're saying?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to have to zoom in because I'm going to be out of state. What time is that?
6.
How about anybody else?
I hope I'll be here, grace of God. But who knows? Oh, the way the world goes.
Shall I start?
Now
Okay.
we're good.
So of draft 4, I think it reflects, except as I'm about to explain, it reflects all the changes that we made at the last meeting. One of those changes we made was to add some maximum impervious coverage items in some districts that previously never had maximum impervious coverage requirements. So as it appears now in draft 4, you'll see there are 2 NRs, which the legend below explains means no requirement in this district. But the remainder are either 66%, 50%, or 75%. It's 75 in industrial, it's 50 in PCVC, and it's 66 in every other district. Now, the instruction I had last time from you was to combine the 2 tables. And I did that, and I had an extra column here on the right. And then I thought to myself, that last column is only about multiple dwellings. And multiple dwellings is the topic of the next section. So I edited my own previous work on my own authority, and I'm reporting to you, it's just my judgment so far that I did this. But I took that column away and widened these columns to make the thing a little bit easier to read. Instead, I wrote some language in 9.2, which we'll get to in a few minutes, okay? Which describes in paragraph form the requirements that had been in the column previously.
I think since we're talking to it, just flip to K2,
On what page?
9.2, it's on page 5.
So I'll read that for everybody. Not more than 8 multiple dwelling units including accessory dwelling units, close paren, may be located on any lot in the R20, R30, RE40, CR, RB, I, or CBC zones. Multiple dwellings are prohibited in the I zone and the OPLI zone. In the DCBC zone and the PCBC zone, the maximum number of dwelling units per lot and per acre may be established by the special permit granting authority. I think that says the same thing it said last
think
time
you
you
got
saw it.
In your first part, or am I missing it here? There's not more than 8 dwelling units, and you located, and you list I zone in there. And then in the next
Oh.
sentence,
Right.
it says multiple dwellings prohibited in I zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Hey, that was like a detail I would have glazed over a year ago. I'm really
So
learning
we
here.
need that, so we take that out.
That's a good get. Yeah.
Take it out, okay.
Okay, and then in B, I don't think there's anything really surprising or new here, although I have moved things around by paragraph to pack them up a little tighter. In paragraph B1, there's an exemption for accessory buildings and accessory dwelling units, which I think is probably required by the new law. To the bottom of the first page, the underlined part. In paragraph 4, it says with all zones where a lot is serviced by both town water and sewer, there are lot sizes reduced. That's you remember that's from the footnote in table 1. Number 5 says where a lot is located on the outside of a curved street. That's also a footnote from table 1. Paragraph 6. This is the thing that I had struck in the earlier draft, and Gordon and you decided you wanted it returned. And I returned it, but it's not struck here, but it cites MGL chapter 48, section 6. And I believe you need a theological degree to be able to understand what that means. So I added the language and replaced the citation to state law to say Article 6 of this bylaw relating to pre-existing uses of buildings, which is right? That's the right idea. It's about pre-existing uses of buildings.
Yeah,
Okay.
we wanted to reference that.
Okay, so that's new language that you haven't seen
You
before.
watching for Gordon there?
Well,
You okay?
yeah, I was gonna say, 48 section 6 trumps our bylaw no matter what anything. If you happen to put in something that doesn't comply with section 6 of 40A, the people are gonna have every right to ask for whatever it is in the process. So, oh, that's great, you just focused it in.
Gordon, I know that, but it's not a question
Yeah.
of which is powerful. It's a question of which is more understood.
Well, you got cut off at Evoke. What was the very last of that?
That it's not a question of which
Hmm.
is more powerful, state law or town bylaw. To me, it's a question of how do you communicate to the reader what the idea.
Yep. No problem. Yeah, you keep getting cut off for some reason. I don't know what's going on with the audio, but that's okay. I heard enough. Sure. Let's go forward.
All right, so then the next change is in paragraph 9. Now, I think I added something here to clarify that. I think there was, oh yeah, in the last sentence of that, I suggested adding to 50 feet and 4 stories or to a greater height approved by special permit. It was, I think we had just said whatever the special permit requires or allows. And it seemed to me that in all of the other cases, there's a standard maximum height that a builder can depend on and doesn't need special permission to go to. So, in the very implausible case that some special permit granting authority in the future might say, no, you can't go more than 15 feet, this would give the person in the I zone an opportunity to go to 50 feet. So that's new to you. You haven't seen that language before.
Subject to special permit.
It can be, in the I zone, you can do 50 feet or whatever the special permit grants you, if you need more than that. Paragraph 10 is the same as before. All right, now in proposal 4, we're into 9.2. And as you will remember, earlier drafts had a lot of text here for a couple of pages that didn't really change under our pen, but that we are proposing to simplify because it repeats a lot of site plan and special permit provisions anyway. So I think the first real thing that you need to pay attention to is K, where Buck had us a few minutes ago. K1 said, this is new language referring to, it's not really new, it's just a new phrasing. Section 5.1 dimensional requirements shall apply to multiple dwellings except as modified in the remainder of the subsection. So I've rewritten that to make it clear that your starting point for multiple dwellings is you have to do all the stuff in 5.1 and then come back here and read the rest of this. Everybody okay?
Mr. Chairman, I have I can't follow where you are because I was looking at 199-9.2, multiple dwelling developments, A, special permit required.
Yeah, Gordon, you got to skip A through J. It's the same as it was in draft 3, so I wasn't discussing that. Go to K on page 5.
Well, there's a typo in A, A special permit required number 1. I don't even know if I'm on the right, because mine doesn't have page numbers.
Okay. All right, I'm back there, yeah.
All right, so it says select board might grant after a public hearing, special permit for the construction of multiple dwellings in, and then the word so. Zoning districts. It's just that word so, did you mean to leave it or strike it?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Not a dime.
It's,
Not on mine either.
Or do we need a different word?
It's struck, but it's not still in.
it's got a conflicting notation. It's overstruck and underlined. That makes no sense.
Okay,
Good catch, Gordon. I think the word so is in the current bylaw, and in that case, I should delete the underlining.
yeah, because I think that would work because I think you mean to strike through that because it made sense as a sentence in the districts as, and then so specified in whether you don't need the so anymore, but it looks like you're trying to keep it.
And then the same, I guess it looks like I got the same problem in the section 199.4.2.
Yeah, okay. 99. Yeah, I'm just trying to find it.
Yeah.
Yes, I see what you're talking about. Yes, and that's the same thing.
Okay, thanks. Good catch, Gordon.
No problem. Thanks. I'm just trying to keep up with you guys.
Are you ready to go to K, Gordon, or do you have other
Why don't
things?
we walk through,
Okay,
just walk through those? Because it's all still the same.
it's all still the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Couple things have been struck. E,
You want
Yeah.
to skip it?
Just where you have some of your underlines in B and C, it didn't strike through. You need to get rid of that underline, I think, to strike it. Maybe.
Gordon, I can't make Word do what I want.
Oh, I have awful trouble with it.
I bought the overstrikes on automatic numbered paragraphs. I sometimes sometimes when I try to fix it, the whole page goes kerflooey,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I-
okay. Believe me,
If you
I
s-
understand. I struggle with Word when I'm working for the Commonwealth too. I get it.
Like you can see on D, on impact statement.
Yeah.
This impact statement are overstruck, but the D is not overstruck, and I don't know why. I mean, I could
Yeah.
maybe try again, but my chance of success is only about 50-50. Okay, Buck,
Yeah,
you
go
wanna,
ahead. Making sure Gordon is okay with the few pieces that we did strike.
Yeah, so far so good. I'm just, I'm just looking at it now, but it seems to make sense so far. And I'm down to F, large developments, I think.
Minor changes there.
Yeah.
I think they're just clarifying changes in F. No change, there's change in G in accordance with, and then it just says this chapter,
Mhm.
so 8 of this chapter. In H, there's a first sentence of 1 is overstruck, saying, it would have said, any multiple dwelling development authorized in this section shall be subject to site plan review by the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission, and the Planning Board. And then it then says the same thing again in the following paragraph. So I deleted the first time as repetitive. So in 2, there's some preliminary language that was unnecessary that's overstruck. The select board in 3 and 2 and 3 is replacing select men. Get ready to go to J. Struck out.
I have a question on I.
Okay.
Okay, now, all right, no, it shall be, it's, I guess I'll bring it up to you later. Keep going now. It's a fine point, but I'm just looking at it for the first time. I want to mull that over.
We're gonna probably vote on this tonight, Gordon, so
Oh, shit, shoot. The issue is that certificate of occupancy, the only problem is about the building's construction. I'm not worried about all the land development stuff. That's all cool. I guess you aren't trying to control the structural components, so I guess it's okay the way it is. I always worry about this situation, and it happens quite often, where a building undergoes a special permit and there's a site plan and a special permit condition that requires 10-foot trees or some kind of landscaping, and they're done with the building in the middle of winter, and you cannot meet the requirements of the condition. And I've had a lot of towns, select boards and planning boards say, oh, you can't issue a CO. Well, it's like the building's safe. And maybe there should be some kind of thought about a bond or something like that that would allow the town to take over and make sure that that site plan works. Maybe that's at the special permit part, not written in here. So it's just a condition I've seen happen, and I get nervous when I see people trying to stop a certificate of occupancy when everything's cool, but you absolutely cannot meet the requirements of the conditions because of the weather or time of year. That's all.
Special permit granting authority.
yeah, this isn't just for multifamily housing, though. This is a general issue. For
Yeah,
any-
it is. Yep. You had a special permit issue too.
And so in my earlier years on this board, I think we sometimes would have site plan or site visits a year after the approval was granted. Make
Right.
Yep.
sure that roads were put in and something like that. But I don't know how that interacted with certificates of occupancy. I hope that that problem doesn't arise here in Lee, but frankly, I think there's a structural flaw in the system, which is that use one certificate, comply with two permits. We have a land use permit and we have a building construction review, and they're both, they should each have a certificate of completion, and they don't. So I'm not surprised that it gets tangled up sometimes.
I mean, is that, not to get too far, but little sidebars, is that something we should put in site plan and special permit section?
Yeah, maybe we should keep it on the list. I
Keep
think,
it on the
too.
radar,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
look into that someday?
Yeah.
Not now.
There's also the last sentence of I is a little, and I'm not sure what you mean. It says a certified copy of an as-built site plan must be filed prior to issue for everything. Single family home, or just are we in only special permits and multifamily? And what is a certified copy? Certified by whom?
Gordon, this is existing language. It's 50
Oh, I
years old.
know. Yeah, I didn't write this part. Believe me, I would have thought this long ago, but I'm just saying that you see the problems that could arise for your enforcement people.
I would just-
Certified thing,
Yeah, go ahead.
should we strike certified
Why don't we strike the whole thing?
or strike,
You have to get a certificate of occupancy after a site plan and a special permit, you have to show
Mhm.
compliance and a special permit, period, whether this exists or not. And
I
therefore,
correct. That's correct.
this is,
but I didn't want to be too violent in my own judgment on when I was sitting in my own computer and not talking to you guys.
Well, certified copy is just they stamp,
Stamp.
Get stamped by who? A surveyor,
Yeah, because we're talking about
architect, an engineer, a civil
Yeah.
engineer, who's qualified? Because it gets very sticky when you get into special permits and surveyed properties.
This says as-built site plan, so it's strictly a surveyor's certificate.
or the,
That's what they
Yeah.
have.
So-
Surveyor. But it never doesn't really say that, does it? It could be
Nope.
certified. The applicant's mother-in-law, right?
So we probably should surveyors.
At least if you strike certified,
How about if we strike the whole thing?
well, that's fine, because you need to have proof for the building department anyway. That's where the problem comes in, is it's the middle of winter and the site plan, they haven't met it because they can't plant their buffer zone or something, you know what I mean? But that's what the special permit board should be having a heads up about, and maybe even getting a bond on that or something if they need to.
this is pretty much covered in site plan and special permit process.
Right.
Good.
As built, I don't think it has built requirement.
No.
I think you're right.
That's right, I think we still need the as-built plan.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's uncertified.
No,
take out-
it's gotta be certified.
By whom?
A surveyor, because this is.
Or
But
engineer.
is it- Are you using it as-built just for the property,
Yes, this is
not the structures?
certified copy of an as-built site plan, not dealing with buildings, we're dealing with the site plan feature only.
What if we do a minor site plan review, usually no engineer, no surveyor or anything?
This is for multifamily special permit.
Right,
So I think the sense of the board is keep I in place. Do not strike all of I, especially keep the last sentence, but add surveyor. So I would,
Could I
Yeah.
suggest language in that last sentence that might work better than what you've got? Keeping it exactly, basically your intent.
Gordon, I'm about to do that.
Okay, great, I'll wait.
I'm suggesting after the words a certified copy, add the words from a surveyor.
do we want that?
Well, I mean, I think Gordon is right. If you're gonna have a certified copy, it shouldn't be certified by the
So-
mother, right?
Right, but a lot of times our site plans are presented by engineers.
This is a multiple dwelling
Uh-huh.
case, so we won't have it informal. First of all, it's gonna be
Probably
the
not.
selectmen that are gonna do
Right.
the special permit, so they're the ones that are gonna be seeing the plan. So Gordon, we'd have to ask you whether you would accept a site plan for a multiple dwelling that is not prepared by a surveyor ever.
Technically, it could
Yeah,
be-
it's, as long as a civil engineer or a design professional bases it on a certified copy, and lists out that copy. Otherwise, your idea of adding that or saying, an as-built site plan certified by a surveyor must be filed prior to issuance, it really comes down to the general law is very specific about when you need to use a surveyor versus whether you need just an engineer, a civil engineer or whatnot. Very specific in chapter 112 of the general laws.
So Gordon, I'm suggesting now, after the words "a certified copy,"
Mhm.
add the words "from a surveyor or licensed engineer."
Yeah, I would think that more than covers, and that way and if an engineer is going to do it, he has to cite the surveyed plan and date to show how he got it. It's how did he develop this review? He used somebody's surveyed plan, but you need a surveyor when you're creating boundaries, for sure.
Okay, we're ready. I think we're ready to go on. Do you have anything on J, Gordon?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go on to K, if nobody has anything. I already have explained K1. I've already had a correction to K2 to delete the I in the third line.
Yeah, right.
Number 3 is rephrased and clarified in the way that you saw before. And it no longer applies just in the RM district. So in any part of town where somebody's gonna build multiple dwellings and multiple buildings,
all separations
they
are
would
35.
be 35 feet separated.
What about DCBC?
Yeah, do you want to accept that?
I think so.
What was that change, Buck? What was your suggestion?
On K3, it says multiple structures containing multiple dwellings on the same lot shall be at least 35 feet apart.
Yeah,
And it does not list out the zones, so that
Yeah.
would be for all towns, which I
It-
think would be
yeah.
problematic downtown.
Well, if you look downtown, I don't even know where you'd be able to do that with any land in downtown. But anyway, yeah, then you should say, put an exception in. If that's what you're looking for.
If one was torn down, then you'd be looking at this rebuild.
Yeah, yes, you would, or somebody buys 2 lots and tears them down.
Paragraph 4 is, I'm sorry, I'm gonna add at the end of paragraph 3, comma, except in the DCBC district. Sounds like everybody agrees to that. Okay, paragraph 4 is the same as you've seen before about who can own land in the PCDC district. When this is at the mall, when they want to put in housing, they can't sell the underlying fee of the underlying lots. 5,
A question for just language from the attorney. The word finding, should it be upon requirement? Would
What-
there
what
be a difference? Like what finding, in number 4, when you say the dwellings only upon finding that ownership of the underlying, should it be only upon requiring that the owner, I don't know. I mean, what's a finding and then how does that
Right.
hold you in the future?
A finding is something that you, as a member of the select board.
Yeah.
Include in your motion to approve, and in
Yep.
the minute, in the document approving, saying that you've made a finding of fact that under this proposal, ownership of the underlying land is not being divided. And that would be a required finding in order for you to make the approval of the project.
Right, right, but it says it cannot be divided. That looks to the future. So I'm wondering if it should be a requirement rather than just a finding that, well, at this point, it's not subdivided, or, you know, the land's not divided up. So it's
Yeah, I don't
look into the future issue.
How would you prevent them from dividing up their land in the future? I mean,
Making it a condition of the, well, and then we have to be careful because some things you can't condition on a special permit.
Not this on you, Gordon, but there's a thing called the rule against perpetuities.
Yes, yeah, I get it.
You can't do that. You can't prohibit people, 100 years from now from dividing their lots.
I agree with you, but it just seems, the language is a little weird, but okay. I do get that.
There may be a way to improve it. It certainly, I said we were going to vote tonight, but I understand from the chair's earlier comment that minor amendments can be made after public hearing, which is going to be in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Maybe you can phrase that better that you like.
Maybe the town's attorney could look at it too and work with you, Peter, to understand what the issues are, and then he could double check it with the way mass laws are. But yeah, I absolutely understand the whole in perpetuity thing.
Okay, that's 4. 5 is overstriking the additional 10 feet. 6 is still reserved. 7 is, again, the same thing you've seen before. 300 square feet per bedroom for playground space. We talked about this, about whether to make it less. We left it at 300.
Where the special permit granting authority can waive it.
Can waive it. Yeah, that's the last sentence.
Yeah.
There's a landscaping requirement in 8, which is really not changed in substance, just clarified. And paragraph 10 is overstruck, which provides for standards and requirements set forth somewhere else in this thing, may be modified. So we have A7 is the place where we put in a sentence. So instead of having a flat out rule in K7 and then a K10 that says don't pay attention to K7, we put the thing about getting the waiver right in K7 and deleted 10. Okay? Everybody?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, to the chair, Peter, number 8, suitably landscaped. Do we have a definition yet for landscaped? And what is suitably? So again, if you want the enforcement agent to take a look and the special permit granting board to deal with it, if I were still a member at this time on the board, how would I look at what suitably landscaped is? If there's no definition for landscaped.
It's not a question for enforcement, Gordon. It's a question for the special permit granting authority to make a judgment about.
All right, so we're gonna make up whatever we think is suitably landscaped. I just want to be clear. I'm not complaining.
I wouldn't say make up. I would say apply your expertise and judgment.
Okay, thank you. We'll see how it works. Sounds good, better than it is now.
Well, if you listed out all the possibilities,
Yeah.
that could get problematic too.
I agree with you, Buck. Yeah, no, I agree, sir.
This might help.
Yep.
There's a lot to change what's possible and what's reasonable. If it's winter time, if it's a paved area, if it's a woodland area.
Right.
On a corner,
Visibility
yeah,
on a
yeah.
corner.
Suitable is not always a grass lawn anymore. There's a lot of other landscape design.
Okay, we're on to proposal 5, the A-Rod. I don't think there's any change here. Members?
Yeah, there is.
And then proposal 6 is the conforming changes to 4.2, which has to be changed in many, A, B, C, D, et cetera, for
So,
Three
hey,
pages.
Gordon, did you see in A-Rod, we're dropping the square footage?
Okay. Well, if that's what you gotta do. It's what you gotta do.
I mean, we've seen a few pieces that could have used some relief and, they come in that, 7,000-8,000 square foot range.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you-
you're gonna find it with the Price Chopper lot and some others too, possibly,
Yeah,
or others. Yeah, I get it.
definitely over 10, but,
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, is no comment on proposal 5 or proposal 6. We deleted I deleted the provision related to defining the requirements for landscaping strip that was in the prior draft. I do want to say, however, that I've had a request to look at it's good that Gordon's here, maybe you can enlighten us, Gordon. The select board apparently held a hearing and took a presentation on what's happening up at the Eagle Mill. And they saw a drawing or rendering sort of from the air, looking north from, I guess, more or less over the gas station nearby, the mobile gas station, looking at the site. And the drawing showed parking right up to the street line or to the sidewalk line. And I don't think we ever approved anything like that.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing that. Was that recently or before I got on the board?
Well, the constituent that I heard from said that you had a presentation recently, as in very recently, from.
Yeah, we did, but it was about, I don't remember seeing anything about a site plan, when, the person from what used to be Berkshire Housing, when they came in and talked to us, I don't remember seeing any kind of picture
Well,
representation.
this person's email had a drawing attached showing Eagle Mill, and what was it, the mechanics building? What is the building?
Yeah, mechanics, but that could have been, they could have taken that from an old version of one of you, because you guys have redone your special permit with minor changes on parking, if I remember correctly.
This
And it
person,
could be they use an old drawing.
that seems more likely now than I thought it was a fresh presentation, but I guess not. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't think so. We wouldn't ever, if it was gonna be a change in site plan, I think we'd send it back for you for recommendations. I don't see accepting that. It was more about the position of and supporting the idea that they were gonna have like 42 more dwelling units, which, rentals, which is what you guys approved, I think, in concept originally anyway.
we did.
That's all I saw was, it was a funding issue to support the funding. It wasn't anything about site plans or anything like that, for sure.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, I had the impression that you were presented with a drawing, but I was mistaken.
And
So-
you may not be, maybe I'm just glitching out, but I don't remember it. That's
It
all.
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. The question is whether if Eagle Mill is built without, that's not the
That's not it.
drawing I saw.
no.
If Eagle Mill is built without the adjacent to Route 20 building, the
Yeah.
phase 3, this is the drawing I saw. Instead, where the phase 3 building would be located was all parking with no landscape. So I guess we should do an inquiry.
Yeah.
Find out, I can forward the email to you, Brooke, and you can inquire where that drawing came from. And anyway, my only point was that we have taken the landscaping strip provision out of this draft for town meeting.
Yeah.
But here's that there may be something going on at the Eagle Mill that we may want to know about involving the presence or absence of a landscaping strip if phase 3 building doesn't get built. Okay,
What landscape strip did we take out?
What landscape strip did we?
Yeah, I thought we had a memo, of a 6-foot landscape strip.
We have already a requirement that there be a landscaping strip, which I think would apply if Eagle Mill at some point is constructed in such a way that parking is adjacent to a sidewalk.
Right. There should be
Um,
some buffer.
And the only thing I was trying to do with the proposal was to clarify what the landscaping strip ought to look like. But, so I guess really, if there's a problem at all, the problem is that somebody thinks Eagle Mill at some point is gonna have parking adjacent to this without a landscaping strip. And maybe we should look into whether that's gonna happen. It would be a shame if it got built that way and then we had to do an enforcement action. I think. So, but I don't think we ever approved that. I think that, as what Buck just showed me was, there's a big apartment building there
Mhm.
next to the sidewalk.
Yeah, but there is a little bit of parking next to the sidewalk.
Next to the building too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next to the building
Okay.
and the entrance.
Is there a landscaping strip?
In that picture there was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think it would matter if it's just a couple of spaces, but if it's, 40 spaces.
No. That was,
The person that wrote to me said, we have all this in our master plan about the entrance to town looking pretty. And, if you come down the hill and you turn left and you see a sea of cars parked with no landscaping other than what the town has put between the sidewalk and the street, maybe, that's not gonna be very attractive.
So what happens if phase 3 doesn't materialize?
Well, we haven't really seen drawings of that. Maybe we
No.
should,
Well, they got the permits right now for a phase 3 building, correct?
yeah,
As to number of units and
yeah, but I don't remember any discussion about, what things are gonna look like before phase 3 is undertaken. And whether it's gonna be, finished off in any way at all, or just still piles of dirt everywhere. I don't remember
I
that.
think,
I thought they came, when Jeff was in one time, you asked the same question again,
Did I?
and he had a drawing of it. Because he said even if phase 3 does not go, the landscaping will be done for 2, that'll go into phase 3.
Glad you remembered that, Dave.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank
All
you.
right, well. let's
Do we
go
I'm
on.
cons- I'm consistent, but my memory sucks.
do we want to request updated drawings?
Why don't we put it on the agenda and ask them in and,
Who are we asking him?
I don't think
Berkshire,
so.
Hearthway, Jeff, both, one or the other.
I think Berkshire Housing has more of an idea right now.
there were all these different players at different times. There was Reese Larkin Development.
Yeah, they're
So-
still with
Yeah.
Berkshire
Is that,
Hearthway.
is that Jeff? Or that's
No.
not-
No.
No, that's John, but not John DeCraker. Not from
Uh,
Spiritus.
And then there's Berkshire Housing, which is gonna run the house, the
Run the-
building and do the
Right.
rentals.
There's a driving
Right.
force now.
I don't know
They
if
were
Yeah.
who
designing
presented to the
parking
select
lots.
board.
I think
Yeah,
they are the
They
driving
came to
force.
the select board.
Oh, okay.
So I can ask them to come, I just need to know who am I reaching out
Yeah,
to?
I think it'd be a great idea to get an update about, where is the financing on phase 3? How likely is phase 3 to happen? If phase 3 doesn't happen, what are we gonna be left with and when? Those are all good questions, I think.
Me too.
Okay, so
Berkshire Housing.
Is Berkshire Housing a part of phase 3? I don't know if they were.
It's got a new name.
Berkshire Hearthway.
Yes,
Berkshire Hearthway.
yes. No, Berkshire Housing is no longer under that name.
Okay.
Huh,
how's that spelled?
well,
Is it Hearthway? Hearth? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a point where, well, before you guys move on away from this area, under A, residential districts, number 3A, just a question for Peter. Is the 8 underline supposed to be there for some reason, or is that something that goes away and strikes through also? At the end of A, multiple dwelling? Because it doesn't make any sense just as 8.
Are we looking at paragraph capital I?
I am looking at, no, 199, 4.2 permitted, list of permitted uses A. I thought that's where we were.
Okay,
I
No, I just-
apologize if I'm wrong.
I just went through A through J in about 4 seconds, Gordon. Okay.
Yeah, so under A, 199, 4.2A, in the R20, R30 zones, and all of a sudden it says number 3, and then A, multiple dwellings. My version says strike out provided that no more than 4 dwelling units on, and 8 is underlined. So are you adding that and leaving dwelling units shall be built on a lot?
Same
Is it-
problem as underlining that was, the age shouldn't be there.
Okay, great. Nope, that's, yep, sounds good. Sounds good.
I think I did that again.
Yeah, I think you have to highlight it, get rid of the underline, then you can strike through it. Okay, no, thank you. That explains my question.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And the same with B, number 2A. So you got the same word issue with the program word.
E is the same and G is the same.
Yep, okay, very good. I'll leave it to you. And the other, just general comment, as I look back at some of what we just looked at, perhaps for the town meeting, you should make some kind of comment about the numbering that has to be changed, or propose new numbering, because the numbering's all screwed up.
The numbering of what?
Where you're deleting a lot of sections and then leaving some sections, like, you have to reserve thing. Why reserve it? Why not just get rid of it and renumber that section in like K?
Well, and the reason is, Gordon, is that if you renumber it, all sorts of overstrikes and underlinings get added that just.
Well, that's the word program.
No, there's places in the bylaw now where there are paragraphs that are just marked reserve, parenthesis reserve.
Yeah,
And because they just didn't want to confuse people with, moving a paragraph up one and having it
yeah.
marked in one place and underlined another place, or, I don't know.
For now, this is being presented, this is illustrated that these are the areas that are being stricken.
Yeah.
And these are what the new words are gonna be. If it gets approved at town meeting, either you are gonna have to read.
Well, I don't know. Do we need an article that says we need authority to renumber everything, or can we just renumber everything?
Once you get this approved, if it gets approved, then,
Just renumber it?
yeah, it's gonna have to be.
So it just
You
take
need to
out,
do
it
this now.
says 6 parenthesis reserve, close paren, we just delete that whole
You
line.
could at that point.
Close 7
Yeah.
becomes 6.
Right.
And we don't need an authority of the town to do that, or the authority of
No,
the people who do the
But for
bookkeeping. for us.
presentation purposes, for illustration purposes of the town meeting,
Okay,
I think you gotta do it.
All right.
Peter.
I think Gordon, it makes it cleaner. I just didn't know if we had the authority
Yeah.
to just.
Nope. Yeah, I think it, as part of the motion, it can be as renumbered as proposed by the board. Something like that, so that you capture it in a motion and you don't have to worry about explaining every change in number. Just a thought.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, so proposal 7 is the SGOD amendment, in which we propose no change from prior draft. We're proposing to change the maximum number of residential units from 122 to 150. And the board has voted to approve that, so I think I'm done, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Peggy.
Yay.
Yes,
We got a pretty table at the front.
it would be nice.
Support and concur.
Well.
Gordon, do you
absolutely.
concur we're done?
Sure.
Sure. Oh,
No, it looks great. Thank you, Peter. No, it's a lot of, believe me, I know what kind of work went into this. So thank you very much.
I think the biggest thing that comes out of this is we used to have 2 tables, dimensional tables, one for
Yeah.
single and 2 family and one for multi, and we have combined them into one.
And I think yes, I think that's a great explanation, and also an explanation on town floor that both tables were seriously flawed.
Oh, yeah.
This corrects the flaws. People don't want to just have something for nothing. But if you tell them there was a flaw, you've corrected it so that it makes more sense to everybody, they won't have a clue, but at least it explains to them that this is why you're doing it. There were problems with those tables. And this clears it all up. And I think it's great.
We hope. And now there's
It'll happen. It'll happen.
no dual setbacks or anything. There's one setback and that's it.
Yeah.
That solves our ADU issue also. As far as setbacks.
Well, what did you say about the ADU? It has, and that it needs to meet the
I
same
mean, that
setback, same
would be-
setback as the original house?
Yep.
Good. Yeah, I think that's the way it should be.
But it'll have to be 35 feet away from the original structure.
I got it. And that's something that that executive secretariat allowed the board to do, was to keep dimensional requirements and not
Only-
consider them to be, unreasonable regulation.
The 35-foot separation between buildings is only where there's two multiple dwellings.
Okay,
It's in 9.2.
Right.
okay, got it.
So
Alright.
if we want that, if we want to.
No, because
Yeah.
it just came to mind,
Yeah.
a detached garage is only 10 feet away.
Yeah.
So if you had an apartment above the
Yeah.
garage, but that would not be a multi.
I think the idea
Dwelling
may be
structure.
that you want to have a fire truck be able to get in between two multiple dwellings and set up ladders between two multiple dwellings,
So if you had
but not between the ADU and the main house necessarily.
240. Okay, yes, I think we're good there.
Sounds good.
And the building code allows those two wooden structures to be looked at as one unit. So there's no distance requirements between a single-family home and an accessory dwelling under the state's building code. Can be as close as you want it to be.
Okay. That's interesting.
So, in summary, Mr. Chairman, I have a lot of typos where, something is underlined and overstruck. I have added in one place, adding the words from a surveyor or licensed engineer.
Mhm.
Another place I have delete I zone from the long list of zones. Another place I've added the words except in the DCBC district. And that's all the changes that we've made. So I would make a motion that the board authorize me to produce draft 5 with those changes for public hearing.
I'll second it.
6 seconds. Any further discussion? Going around the room. Conrad?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Dave?
I,
Peter?
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. And thank you for your input, Gordon. I look at you very much on this because you're at that front table. And if you disagree with this and you voice your disagreement, it carries a lot of weight at town meeting
Sorry.
and puts us in a tough situation. So it's better to get it all approved now than run into problems at town meeting.
Yeah, and I understand that, so I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt, but I wanted to be able to respond reasonably from the front table to justify these changes. That's why I've been coming to these.
That's great. I appreciate it because
Yeah. No problem.
that
And thank you guys for doing this. I mean, it's been long overdue, so this is a great next step forward. There'll be more steps, but this is a great next step.
there is. So thank you. We got that going on. The ADU will cover at the main April meeting. We'll get working.
Okay, yeah,
How
I
much
need-
do you really think we need to do or just,
I haven't really studied the opinion or the regulations, rather, from the agency. Wait, CA plus agency.
A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
E, F, G? Yeah, I know.
Executive office of whatever it is, yeah,
Housing and livable communities.
all right. Thank you, Brooke. So to get started, though, I need to have the existing bylaw on ADUs, and I have asked Brooke to provide that because previously I used to provide it for myself because I used to keep a copy of what our bylaw said. And as we made changes, I changed my document, and I was your sort of librarian. But a few years ago, we went to Code 360, and I am no longer your official librarian. And so I need the official language of what our bylaw currently says about ADUs in order to begin my work. And I negotiated with Brooke about when she can provide that for me. I've asked her to do it. Beginning with the Code 360, which has not been updated. The Code 360 does not show in an easily accessible form what the bylaw now says. It shows what it said a few years ago, and it shows some of the articles that we voted since then, but it doesn't update in the way you would want a statutory revision commission to update the law. So Brooke, I'm gonna ask you to tell us, when can you get that?
Sure,
draft of
so
the existing bylaw?
E-code is being codified, all the laws besides the ADU laws, because the ADU laws are not consistent with the AGs. So they did give us feedback when we submitted it, and then we waited for editing until they came out with their most recent, update in February. So all of our other bylaws that were in the new law section, so they still are in E-code with our other bylaws, they're just in the new law section and not the old laws or current laws per se. They will be fit in to our current bylaws soon. We did give them the go ahead last week, and they are working on that now. So that should be very, very soon.
So when will I be expecting to get from you the draft of the current language in our bylaw regarding ADUs?
I'm gonna need some more time. But
Isn't it in new laws or not?
yeah, it's in new laws, but Peter wants it in with all of the other
I-
bylaws. So that means that I have to save it as a Word and then fix all the formatting, save the new law as a Word, and then insert it in the correct locations, ensuring that formatting is correct,
I could
which
do
is
that,
trickier.
but I am not volunteering to do it because I didn't pick Code 360.
Okay, okay.
If they want to do it, they should do it. And they, if Code 360 is going to be our company, then Code 360 should be able to tell us, in my opinion, what our bylaw says and give me a copy of it. Not, 6 months from now or 3 months from
No,
now.
we need that soon.
I need it before I can begin my work, and I'm not going to do it myself. It only should take.
Chairman? No, go ahead. Go ahead, Peter, you finish.
He did. I think he did.
What did I do?
I'm just saying we need to check with town administrator about the status of our contract with that company
Okay.
to see what we're doing, if we have to engage them again or whether they're still covered under an existing contract.
I think the decision was made in the town hall to refrain from spending money on updating a bylaw on ADUs that would only have to change again and have to spend more money. But unfortunately, that's just from beginning step 2 if we don't have the results of step 1.
We need.
Right.
Right,
Well, I think we'll
that's-
have to engage the town administrator and the board for that. I'm not against spending money. If there's a reason for spending the money.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon. Brooke, you know what you left out of this agenda?
What did I leave out of it?
Your report.
Didn't I?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I think we can get that in any topic, the chair decides, so. Last meeting, we talked about a zoning administrator. In your packet, there is about that. Find it again. So every now and then it happens where, mainly with zoning board of appeals, you need flood, when you have a floodplain overlay, it happens. Or any other things that would go to ZBA, a zoning administrator confirmed by the select board could render a decision on this. And if the applicant doesn't like the decision, then they still are allowed to go in front of the ZBA.
Is this a new position?
It would be.
A full-time position?
No, it'd be a consulting position. Right?
Volunteer.
Volunteer. It'd be a volunteer.
I was kind of, I read it, I was kind of confused.
Yeah,
It seems, in many towns I've dealt with in the past, you have a building commissioner, a building department, the building inspector is also the zoning enforcement officer. And if there was an issue on something that required a variance, or there was a question on any kind of a zoning issue, the CEO would make a judgment. And if you didn't like the judgment, then you file an application to the ZBA to appeal the decision of the zoning enforcement officer.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a similar position. Yeah.
why isn't the building commissioner also the CEO?
He can't be. He
No,
can't
can't be.
appeal on his own or act on his own
You're
decisions.
right, because he's making the decision, and if you don't like his decision, then you file an application with the zoning board of appeals. And then they make the judgment.
Or a zoning administrator.
So why do we have a ZBA?
Why do we have a CPA?
Because the zoning administrator is making the judgment.
He could,
Right, I mean.
Yeah. Gordon?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I brought this forward and I think it's an incredibly important issue to have in this town. When I left the Board of Selectmen the last time, many years ago, I've offered to volunteer on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We cannot keep a fully staffed Zoning Board of Appeals. We don't have the volunteers to do that. I can't tell you, well, I know 3 times I sat in a darkened hallway on the 2nd floor to proclaim to no one that the hearing was continued with the agreement of the appellant until we could get a board together to a time certain and all that. And it went on 3 times before we actually, because people who were on the board went to Florida in the winter. And so this was my idea because it is absolutely allowed under Chapter 40A, the Zoning Empowerment Act, under 40A, and I think it's back in like section 13 or 12, maybe Brooke will know better, but it's toward the back when it talks about zoning boards of appeal. And some of it is to take up this very issue. We can't get people to come to the meeting. And, you know, the whole justice delayed is justice denied. So when you can't have a zoning board of appeals to hear somebody's appeal, and it goes on for 3 months till people are home from Florida, or in the case of some people just don't show up, or they have a conflict. Because we're a tight-knit community, you have a lot of people who have personal conflicts. So because of that very issue, I thought the best thing to do is to shortstop the problem and try and have a zoning administrator who has the same powers of the board to issue decisions, issue special permits, and do all that. But the applicant, if they don't like it, or if the neighbors don't like it, they can go to a full board, and then as a Board of Selectmen member would be scrambling to come up with enough people to be on that board. Nobody wants to serve. So this was in hopes of at least giving someone a timely and initial hearing on their application. And then you go from there. So if somebody wants to appeal that decision, they can appeal to a board. Then we're still left scrambling, but maybe by then people are back from Florida and we can staff the ZBA properly. It's a definite major problem in all towns where you're not getting people to volunteer for boards. But anyway, so I was the instigator of this, and I think it's something that the town absolutely has to have, and I'm adamantly in support of it. Let me put it that way. I don't know if that answers your question or not, or your thoughts.
Oh, that's perfect. I don't understand the issue with the ZBA, but I can see the rationale for it now. It does make sense. Again, just another jurisdiction I've dealt with. I mean, that's the way they handle it, but they did have an active zoning board of appeals, and there was a process for, there was an appellate process if somebody had an issue with a zoning issue or even a building inspector's issue. So, no, I get it. That explains it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions on this issue, but it's right out of the general law, but we've never taken advantage of it. And I never understood why, but we're just, we're supposed to have a 7-member board. We're lucky to get 4 people at a meeting.
So Gordon, does section
Yes.
13 of the state law authorize this office?
Yes, I can't remember if it's 13 or 12, maybe Brooke, or I can look it up real quickly while you're still in session if you want. But it's in 40A, Mass General Law 40A. And it's under the powers and authority of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Have you got 40A in front of you?
I got section in front,
I don't have 13. I have 12, but not 13.
I'll look it up quickly while you guys discuss other things and I can get right back to you.
says a zoning ordinance or bylaw may authorize the appointment of a zoning administrator who, unless otherwise provided by charter, shall be appointed by the Board of Appeals.
Yep.
On permission by the city council or Board of Selectmen to serve at the pleasure of the Board of Appeals pursuant to such qualifications as may be established by the city council or Board of Selectmen. It goes on to describe the Board of Appeals may delegate to said zoning administrator some of its powers and duties by a concerning vote of all members of the Board of Appeals consisting of 3 members and a concurring vote of all except 1 member of a board consisting of 5 members. So you need a supermajority is what it says.
Yeah, we have 5-member board and 2 alternates, and none of them ever show up.
Any person aggrieved by a decision or order of the zoning administrator, whether or not previously a party to the proceeding or any municipal office or board may appeal to the Board of Appeals as provided in section 14 within 30 days after the decision of the zoning administrator has been filed at office of the city town clerk. Yep, an appeal application or petition that goes into the appeal process, so that gives you,
I think this is the trend for the future,
I think it is.
to get people for volunteer time.
Yeah.
It's less and less. I mean, I've been sitting on these boards for a long time,
Mm,
and it's getting harder and harder and harder to get numbers, get people to come off the street, give up their time. So I don't have an answer, that's for sure. It seems like everybody's tried their best, but it's
I'm
not
trying
working.
to see.
So it's like a lower court of appeals. It's like an intermediate
A
court of
judge,
appeals.
yeah.
And then if the party is unhappy, then they go to the full ZBA and start as they would have started if this had never happened.
And what happens if there's no board of ZBA?
Same problem we have now.
Yeah. Hopefully we can,
Back to square one.
Hopefully you get
Yeah,
some
it's a
people.
big circle.
Sure.
So is this something we gotta vote on or make a recommendation for?
Just
or-
make a recommendation or
It'll be a part of the public hearing.
we have a public hearing on it.
Mr. Chairman, if it's a change to our bylaw, you guys will eventually have to have a hearing and vote on it as support or not to support as it goes to the town meeting. That's part of your job as a planning board to, when changes are made to the zoning bylaw.
so we have to put in our bylaws, this
Yes.
position. And then this person is appointed by the ZBA and approved by the select board.
Do we want to do, actually, we're gonna do this in May.
Let's get it done now.
Okay with me.
Can we take this as part of the public hearing we're gonna have in,
Yep.
in
Yep,
March?
So
the
this
12th,
was
yep.
the Article 6. We would amend chapter 199-13-2A.
Reading the zoning administrator.
Yep. Motion,
Yeah,
yep,
okay, so I move that the board propose amendment to section 199-13.2 as presented to us tonight and presented at public hearing at the upcoming date we scheduled, which is March 12th, was it?
Well,
And that this be included in the packet.
second,
1 second.
30 seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Conrad,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye.
Good.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Mill redevelopment, Brooks. She's been on this. Kind of she's a little pet project, right? I
Yeah,
keep
so-
hearing about.
I just want to bring this to your attention, just so you all know this. This is something that seems to be occurring more and more with towns that are successfully developing large vacant mills. So what I gave to you all is Ludlow's bylaws, and they just finished undergoing a large mill redevelopment. That is a very successful project. This does have similarities to our A-Rod section. Primarily though, the differences, and if you can look through, take your time, this doesn't need to be anything. If we wanted to implement something like this, it doesn't need to go for our special town meeting. But basically, this mill redevelopment area allows private trades, colleges, and schools to be part of the by right use, as well as parks, open spaces, theaters, hospitals, biotech, manufacturing, call centers, and then they also have businesses with or without dwellings. And in our A-Rod bylaws, we have retail sales, but the sales area is no more than 10% of the total space. So it would allow a mill redevelopment like this specifically. This is taken right from Ludlow's bylaws. Is just a greater use of the space that's available. So the thing to keep in mind though is that this development requires 50 acres. None of our mills in town are 50 acres. So Columbia, for example, is 40 and a half. Greylock is 37 and change. Forest Street is 18. So just to put into perspective, I'm not saying copy exactly what this says, but this is just a very thorough and well thought out, or extensive, I think is the word I'm looking for, mill redevelopment district.
Would that be the better way to go, or modify our A-Rod?
I think that's up for you all to decide. A-Rod is
Or
an
town
adaptive
planner
use
has to
district.
vote.
A-Rod is an adaptive use overlay, right? So do we want this to still be an overlay district where we can put it anywhere in town potentially, or in specified zones, or do we want this to be its own zone,
Just the zone, just the.
just the mills? Because
Well, I
then
mean,
we're
one
not
mill's already
having,
Gone out, Eagle's gone out of it, that's
Yeah.
what 40 are.
yeah, so we're not having really questions regarding, oh, would this space, if we're thinking of this space, would it fall under this, or would it be this space? This would be a specifically zoned area.
Sure.
So I just want to bring it to your attention
Sure.
I told you all that I would have a good example of a working bylaw. This was the best example I could find. There's also East Hampton does have one as well. I was just unable to print it for you all. But Ludlow's is a lot more thorough, in my opinion, than East Hampton's. Those are two examples of recent mill development projects that actually West Mass Development also did help with for this. So
We can digest it through.
Yeah.
So Brooke, what is this, in a nutshell, what does this do about modifying the zoning in this district? I mean, is it removing requirements? Is it adding requirements? Is it, I mean, what's the broad concept?
it would be adding more flexibility in the mill areas that we don't currently have.
To do what? Flexibility to,
Increase development, increase developers, increase potential of uses of this existing without coming before the board for a more rigorous special permit. That way, when developers are looking into town, it's not as challenging, not as, I guess, scary, which scary isn't a good term to use, but it's a more appealing project.
As a by right.
Either a by right or, the use, specifically the use column, I think is very interesting, or the use areas in this district compared to what we have, especially with the retail sales area.
so it looks like it's a site plan review instead of a special permit.
Yeah, I'm wondering. We're not talking about a rezone specific to these three properties.
No,
Is it a rezone or just it's an application of,
It would be another overlay district,
you know,
because it's different than
same but different, similar.
similar.
So what kinds of things for people in Ludlow?
So their most recent mill has, and I believe it's a whole, they have a bunch of retail, they have some housing, they have some hospital space as well. They actually were able to get a hospital in it, part of it, which are all things that with our A-Rod bylaw as it stood, and I think still even with the changes that we made, it would not allow. But again, that mill, it was bigger. You know, it's a minimum they have of 50 acres. Our largest mill that we have in town is not 50 acres. So I'm not saying we should do exactly what Ludlow did, we can't. But, you know, implementing some changes to allow a broader use, I think is beneficial.
and has there actually been constructed?
Yes, oh, it's done, yep.
Do you have an address?
I can get one for you if my computer doesn't die.
No, sir.
Ludlow's not that far.
How are the?
100 State Street.
100 State?
100 State Street.
No,
Which.
Is this just for one mill in Ludlow, or is this
Mixed
for
use.
multiple?
Yeah.
That is a
Besides
specific
Jeff's
one mill.
in-law,
For Ludlow,
yeah.
that's for any sites, but this specific Ludlow mill is the one that
Massive building.
has
and they're
had
restricted on what they can
success.
do with it.
you know, they also have open space that as well. They have parks around it and some fields. So it's not just, they're really making it be a center of the community and not just more.
All that stuff. Oh, that's all.
We're gonna urgent care clinics or
Hmm.
where it's going. The one in Lennox, right?
So again, I just wanted you all, we discussed this was a possibility when some developers came in looking at some of our current areas and they asked, do you have a mill redevelopment zoning? And this is just, I mentioned that to you all and I said I would get language, so I just wanted to provide you all with
A lot of
language
language.
and comparison with our A-Rod.
I mean, right now, I think that we should modify it on a daylight. Rather than go through the time and the problematic things that pop up with make it a new one. That would give us a chance to test the water a lot quicker. And
So I mean, if the main idea is to relax a lot of the use rules, we could,
yeah, but we have like a percentage, so building can be so much this, so much that.
I see some language in here, Dave, that looks like it's pretty repetitive of our procedures, you know, for site plan reviews and such things again, like we did earlier tonight. So I wouldn't want to recommend, you know, adopting this whole thing, but the idea is to have a rezoning that creates a, I don't know what we would call it, a mill redevelopment district.
It'd be another overlay district.
Well, yeah, I guess what you have is an overlay that says, forget all the other stuff that applies to industrial zones. Here are the uses you would allow. And here are the processes you would follow. Just site plan, no special permits. Is that pretty much the idea, the change? I don't know, would the board be ready to do that? Would you be ready to approve or disapprove a comprehensive project for Graylock Mill with just a site plan review that you couldn't say no to? Oh, I see one head shaking, yeah.
I don't think so.
Special permit land, you think?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think there is something we could do here. I mean, we could create a new district, mill redevelopment district. I don't know if it would be an overlay, but really, I mean, it could be just a rezoning of those areas. And say, here's a list of uses. Here's some of them that, you know, you can just do by right with a site plan.
Subject to,
And then here's some that you could do with special permit. I don't know why it would need to be an overlay district, because to the extent it's an overlay district, it overrules everything that's already been there before. So it's more like a rezoning there. Overlay.
Yeah. I think I see what you're saying there, yeah.
I actually know what this is.
Yeah.
where this mill is? He goes, yeah, I did a gas station nearby. He did a gas station nearby everything. I know it. That's the only reason I know this place. Because I used to work for Friendly Ice Cream at the Wilbraham office. In real estate, and I used to go by this. Go from Wilbraham, go over to Mass Turnpike.
Maybe we should do a field trip.
Yes.
Sure.
I heard ice cream, I'm in for a few. Oh, what?
I'd love to get like a medical district or something, or even a dentist like that.
Well, that's it. You know, right now, we can't.
Do that.
If you try to do a mixed use in Columbia Mill, can't do it because of
It'd be
restrictions.
great if we could get. some
Next
more
year's
stuff.
project?
Mhm.
May project? No. Too soon, right?
Yeah. We're too soon. Yeah. We gotta figure out the APU. In fact, I bet they're gonna be asking us at this special one why we didn't do that. But okay.
Well, this has been a long.
Well, one reason is that we didn't know there was gonna be a special meeting
We
until
didn't.
2 weeks
Right.
ago.
No.
Right.
So this we had
We
We
were
had this
scheduling the
closest
work
already.
You know.
Yeah.
That
We had
might
this
arrive
close
early.
already because we didn't, until a couple weeks ago, we
That's
didn't know
right.
what the state was gonna require for the ADU.
That's true.
So here we are. Now, we'll be
We'll be
We'll be
okay.
good with that. I think the biggest thing with to clarify the ADU is gonna be the setback that we just saw. So, all right, and then I have that little special agenda item, see how much trouble we get in. Anything I can foresee, and I can foresee that we need a town planner report.
Oh,
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of work on different grants, especially the MVP grant just got released today. And I'm hoping it's a very extensive grant that we have applied for in the past. We did not get it. So I've been working with BRPC, I've been working with the state, I've been working with the Office of Climate Change and Resiliency, as well as the MVP state
What
office.
is an MVP?
Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness or Hazard Mitigation Plan grant. So we've been working with BRPC to create a municipal vulnerability plan / hazard mitigation plan that will have a place in this grant, but really it's centered around our public safety building and trying to get funding for part of our public safety building. So that is the big project I've been working on with a lot of different stakeholders. I've also had several meetings with Greener Gateways, Community Gardens, Catherine Miller from both of those entities privately to discuss some upcoming projects regarding spring plantings and things like that, and how the Greener Gateway and the community gardens work hand in hand. Also, I've met with the Youth Commission about the Parks and Rec Committee and Commission that will be presented at the special town meeting. The proposal, not saying that it's going to happen. I've also been working with Berkshire Brownfields. We're meeting tomorrow. I'm now the lead delegate on that. I've been working with Yukon Tab for the targeted
Where are they
assessment.
looking at brownfields?
It's just
No Eagle, no.
the regular
Just in
meeting.
general.
It's a general meeting, nothing for Lee specifically. But I believe Eagle Mill will be coming up again soon.
Yeah, they have art.
Yeah.
They have-
So besides that, I've also been working, I've completed the Stockbridge Road grant. Hopefully we receive it. I'm still waiting to hear back on the Compact IT grant. I still haven't heard back from that. And
Brooke, what are we asking for money to do in the Stockbridge Road property?
like we discussed a few weeks ago, a few meetings ago, it's designed for an ADA path that connects.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we asked for
Is there
design.
a grant for an invasive species also?
No,
No?
I haven't worked. There has been no invasive species removal grant, unfortunately.
Thought it was, Peg's group. There was some money, like $15,000.
That was buying part of the parcel. CPA funds matched, if that's what we're discussing for CPA regarding Stockbridge Road property. There may be Greener Gateways might have asked CPA for funds for you know,
Right.
tools
Yeah.
or things of the sort.
Yeah.
But that's nothing I've directly done.
That's not,
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Chris Brady.
Brooke, can you say anything that, if you know anything about what's going on in Price Chopper?
It will be up for sale. Again, that's the
Uh,
only thing that I know.
So that information is from the Price Chopper real estate company? They're putting it up for sale. Do they have a definition of their boundaries?
I only know this because Benchmark told me the sale fell through.
Okay. All right, now that you said it, they told me that too, and I didn't know if we could say it publicly. Okay.
Yeah.
So the plan that we approved from Benchmark years ago is no longer.
Is that over?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's
So,
it. So I don't
um,
know if we want to talk about that due to open meeting law that wasn't posted on our agenda.
Well, I wonder if we could just put the Price Chopper on an agenda, future agenda, maybe for late March, and see if we can get somebody to come in and talk to us about it. There's Xavier has an opinion about where his boundary is and what rights he has to that property.
And I think it's been solved in
Mhm.
court.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
It's been solved.
Yes.
Well,
I heard.
what I heard was that the landowner could not remove all the clouds on title. And that was why Benchmark backed out. So it sounded from what Benchmark reported to me like there's still some sort of a dispute. And so I just, this is a big piece of property in town, a major, it's not as big as the Eagle Mill, but it's important.
it's
And
important.
as the planning board, I think we have a responsibility to know what's going on. I can't find out what's going on. So I would like. for late
No,
March.
I agree with Peter. You need to stop talking about it and put it on the next agenda. This was just a report from the planner. So now that it's on your radar, I think any discussions further than right now, because I have things I could say too, but I'm not going to bring them up until it's on your agenda, and then I'll be happy to discuss what I know.
Good.
On the next agenda.
Whenever you want to put it on. But I don't think we can do it under this. I would be uncomfortable talking to you about what I know on this agenda because it's not listed out.
No. Okay,
That seems fair.
thank you all. Any
You want
other
a
items
motion?
we want on the next agenda? Right, a motion?
To adjourn.
There we go, all in
There we
favor?
go.
I
Aye.
Yay.